Yay Networks.
Welcome to the Great Girlfriends podcast, where we discuss life, love, laughter, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sybil Amuti, and I can't wait for you to hear all of the Great Girlfriend magic on today's show. So without further ado, grab something great to drink, grab your pen and your paper, and get ready for this week's episode. Enjoy. Hey, great girlfriends, and happy Wednesday. I'm so excited to be back with you. And guess whose house I crashed?
Like, for real crash. But that's what great girlfriends do, right?
That's what they do. They hit you up like 20 minutes before. First of all, they change the recording time because they're like, wait, the kids have to pick up from school. That's not going to work. I got to figure this out. And then they call you and they're like, hey, can we record at your house? Is that okay?
And of course the answer is always yes.
And she was like, absolutely yes. And then I came in moving stuff to like make our set. But nobody else would do this for me than Kibi Anderson. So thank you, Kibi.
You're very welcome.
I'm so happy. Mm-hmm. We had such an explosive conversation in part 1 of Power of the Pause. And you gave me so much to think about that I thought I had thought about. I really did. I thought.
It's levels, right?
But apparently it was just percolating. There was nothing actually happening.
Oh.
And I love how you talk about life putting you in these positions where you have to either embrace it or you have that kind of war, that battle on the inside. And great girlfriends, I know that I am not the only person driving in 3 lanes at once. Literally. 2 hands, please. Driving across all 3 lanes, thinking I'm doing my thing. And then I look up and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm actually split in more directions than I realized. Mm-hmm. I've overcommitted to more things than I even value. Mm-hmm. Like, these are other people's things.
That is the question,
right?
Yes.
And I need to reset, but I'm actually afraid.
Yeah.
You know, I think there's even a piece, Kibi, when it's time for you to have that pause where you realize that there's a whole bunch of people pleasing happening in your life. And you think that you're not. You think that you're...
See, and that's the lie.
That's the lie. That's the lie. And so that overcommitted, like for me, that's what probably puts me in a box of like, wait, how do I reset these commitments and get myself in one lane?
Absolutely.
You seem to do this well.
Hard-earned struggle.
You have figured this out.
About it. Yeah.
I know, but I love it so much. First of all, I love that any lesson learned, great girlfriend, is a pay it forward for the next woman.
Yes.
And I think we have to do a better job of raising our hand and saying, hey, this is, even if it's newly learned, it doesn't mean you have to be an expert at it, but a new revelation is meant to be paid forward. Mm-hmm. And so you being in the middle of your pause and acknowledging that this revelation is what you're walking through, we can all kind of take this sacred space together.
Listen, let's do it. And, you know, to be clear, Sybil, I mean, I am talking about this because it's about a movement, building a movement. Because when I say this stuff, y'all, I'm saying it to me. I mean, I am literally saying it to me. It is a daily walk, and everything that you've been talking about, Sybil, everything. The overcommitment, the people pleasing. You know, for me, it was actually a pleasing of an insatiable desire to ensure that this insecurity, this fear, this like boogeyman outside that would potentially cause me to go back to what I was running from, which in my case was, you know, poverty as a kid, you know, not a lot of money, you know, not a lot of attention. And I swore as a young kid, I would never feel this way again. Mm-hmm. Like I swore that way. And so because of that, my fear drove me to work, you know, and then within that is the inability to create boundaries and the inability to say no. And to your point, the inability to fully prioritize the stuff that you should be giving your time to, you know, because there are only 24 hours in a day. We are only one person. And and you say this a lot, the most valuable thing we have in our lives right now is time.
That's it.
You know, and so when you start telling yourself a story that I don't have time to rest, I don't have time to pause, you're not actually giving time its full weight, its full power. And you talked about this when I was going through it, because Sybil was there with me when I was going through it, and you would encourage me, Kibi, God redeems time, and I've never forgotten that. And even when I've worked through a lot of the teachings and the communication and just the conversation I want to have around this, I never forget that. So that's the one thing. It's just about really owning and activating and walking in this idea that rest, time for rest has power.
Yeah.
Like time for rest there's power in the rest. And that is what we are not fully embracing, because that lie is telling us if we rest, work is the only way to actually advance. And I said this before, I firmly believe that it is not because you are not working hard enough. It's because you're not resting hard enough that you're not getting to the points you want. You're not achieving the things you want. You're not having the love that, I really, really firmly believe that. And I walk in that every day.
Well, like we're learning, God bless my mother, my grandmother, all the mothers of the mothers of the mothers, mothers, because they did their very best in teaching us how to be and how to, as women, be able to stand on our 2 feet, right? And a lot of that conversation did not include rest
at all.
No, it
wasn't
included
modeled.
Tireless labor,
absolutely,
commitment to getting it done. And in order to ensure certain outcomes like being highly educated or being able to have choices in your finances and being able to have certain freedoms, there was never a conversation about a stop point or a pause point or taking space to reboot.
Yeah, definitely.
Regrouping. None of that. There was always, for me, in my life, there were always conversations, majority conversations were about the pursuit.
Yes.
And I would have loved a couple of byline subnotes, addendums that said, hey, in that pursuit, you're going to find that you're going to need to reboot. And here are some indicators of things. And even before you get there, make sure you're doing certain things to take care of yourself. I don't know if they knew how. There were certain things that I would see my mom do, and maybe you saw little things that your mom would do to try to pause, right? To attempt set pauses. And for my mom, Sundays, we would often go with my dad to the country. We call it no offense, Mississippi, but okay, here we go. We would call like going to my grandmother's house in Mississippi, going to the country. Yeah. That's because we were in Memphis and that was the country. And we would go with my dad to the country, and this is a Sunday thing. Yeah. And we would always be like, why is my mom coming? And now I understand she was at the house doing whatever the heck she wanted to do without any of the people, regrouping or not, like clipping toenails, watching Kathy and Lacey. Whatever her choice, but she was not doing us.
Yes.
And that was like a symbol of a pause.
Absolutely.
Or even like subtle girls' nights and things like that. I never saw, not until she retired did I see her like fully burst into life when she was able to like retreat vigorously
fully.
And
embrace
travel
that. Definitely. Yeah.
And so people are putting life on hold.
Yeah.
And I was putting life on hold. Like quality was missing.
Absolutely. And I think there's a few fundamental things that you bring up that I think I just want to highlight for your listeners. I believe that we have to even redefine what we consider rest. Yeah. And I may have mentioned this in the last conversation we had, but rest is literally doing anything that gives you joy.
Yeah.
And I think that's important to understand, because sometimes we think rest is I have to go to sleep, I have to take a vacation. I have to be literally stopping.
Yeah.
I think we also sometimes think rest can only happen in a solitary way. You can rest in community. I firmly believe that.
In good community.
Yes.
Because we rest. We do this.
Exactly.
And there's nothing to it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I love that.
And so when I'm hearing you say, joy for your mom may have been just, ain't no kids around. And I get to sit here and cut my toenails. You asked me about my mom. I mean, my mom, joy from sports. And at that time of my life as a little girl, she was a tennis player. So we would go on Saturdays and the weekends, and I would watch her play tennis. Now it was her joy. I don't know if it was my joy, but I was, the kid that had to be there. But I will say, for me, like resting is riding a bike. Like I love to ride. So when I was a kid, I would go bike riding. I'm from Seattle. We would ride along the lake. Yeah. Resting for me is actually being on the water. Like I love boats.
Oh, I can even see it in rest. Yeah.
Listen,
all I have to do is glance at the ocean.
I was blessed to be in a city that had, I had access to people who had boats. And so I would go out there. And so again, when you are thinking about how do you make sure you're incorporating rest more consistently, as Sybil sort of highlighted, not feeling like you have to stop your life. First, think about what gives you joy, because you've got to really connect with that. And to your point, it wasn't modeled for us. I mean, and it's actually, I would imagine if I were to ask some people who are listening to this right now, what gives you joy? They may have a hard time.
Oh, they would have to journal.
Yeah, you'd have to journal. And so that's the first part of this process. I say we got to begin to really reconnect with what gives us joy, and genuinely ask yourself. And oftentimes I encourage people, I'll share this as an exercise. Literally think about it when you were a little girl, like when you were 9, Like, what was that thing that you
Mhm.
did just for the love of it? Like, you didn't get nothing back. I mean, because joy-based activities are things that you get no return from.
I know,
Just
that's so
literally the act of it. What are those things?
Yeah.
Begin to meditate, journal, reflect, sit in your car. If you're driving right now, sit in your car
Yeah.
and just ask yourself, because then you can begin to start thinking, okay, how do I begin to incorporate those things into my life? The
Mhm.
second thing I will say, and this is something that people might find controversial, but balance is not the goal.
Mm-mm.
Balance is not the goal,
we agree
y'all.
on that. Like
Balance is, we have been
how?
bamboozled.
Because what?
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
in many cases, if you think about balance, I always envision a seesaw.
Mhm.
And inherently, in order for one side to go up, the other side got to go down.
Right.
And within that is a scarcity mindset.
Mhm.
Like, in order to
You're gonna
do
lose
one,
something.
you have to
Mhm.
lose. And I don't want to lose. Like,
Mhm.
I don't want to sacrifice my kids for my,
Mhm.
for my job or my girlfriend time for,
Mhm.
something else. And so you are probably not going to do it. Like, you feel
Mhm.
guilty. If you shift to harmony, which I
Mhm.
love,
Mhm.
this idea of harmony, the definition of harmony is literally two chord progressions moving at the same pace simultaneously, and they ultimately create a beautiful sound.
Mhm. Mhm.
That is literally rest and work.
Yeah.
If you operate with harmony, you're in the flow.
Yeah.
You can actually take time to pause. You can actually take time to work and sacrifice it. You don't have to sacrifice one for the other, because
Right.
at the end of the day, they're both moving towards the end
Mhm.
result, which is a positive goal. And that's what we're trying to navigate more than anything.
Yeah.
And it's the discipline, it's the consistency. And listen, this doesn't happen overnight. I mean,
No,
it's a
at all.
muscle. You've
Yeah.
got to start practicing.
Great girlfriends, I have something exciting to share. I'm wearing my new favorite undies by Bombas, and you should too. Bombas' mission is simple: make the most comfortable clothes ever and match every item sold with an equal item donated. So when you buy Bombas, you're also giving to someone in need. Everything they make is soft, seamless, tagless, and has a cozy feel. Bombas has t-shirts made with thoughtful design features like invisible seams, soft fabrics, and the perfect weight so they hang just right. Bombas underwear is so breathable and it fits so well, it feels like you're wearing nothing at all in a good way. And let me personally testify to you that the girl who feels like she's wearing no underwear is actually wearing seamless, comfy underwear by Bombas. I'm so happy. And I love the colors in the nudes they come in that match my skin tone. So it feels good and looks extra good under my clothing. And did you know that socks, underwear, and t-shirts are the three most requested clothing items at homeless shelters? That's why Bombas donates one for every item that you buy. So far, Bombas customers like you have helped donate over 50 million items of essential clothing. Hooray for us. Go to bombas.com/greatgirlfriends and use code greatgirlfriends for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/greatgirlfriends and use code greatgirlfriends at checkout. Bombas.com/greatgirlfriends. Code greatgirlfriends.
What kept you from feeling like you had the capacity to even take the pause? Like, yeah, what were you afraid? And great girlfriends, you're probably, as you're thinking through what Kibi just gave you as these three indicators, you're probably also looking at your life and making up the excuses as to why this can't work in one way or another. Some are saying, oh, this can work. Oh, I see it. Oh, this is where my joy lies. Others are saying, you don't understand my story.
Girl, listen, I've heard it all, y'all. I ain't got time to pause because I got 3 kids. You may have this time, Kibi, but I can't afford to
say.
It's easy. I've heard it all.
Yeah.
I've heard it all. And again, it is a story you are telling yourself.
And it makes me say, what are you afraid of?
And that's literally what you have to ask yourself. Literally, anytime I hear that, and I hear it a lot because I talk about this a lot, and I hear it a lot, and I get it, especially for Black women.
Yeah.
Especially for women of color, because to your point, we are carrying so much.
Mm-hmm.
We are being expected to be responsible for so much. But I always get to that question: what are you telling yourself that is convincing you that you cannot do this? And when we get to the heart of that, then we can actually start problem solving.
Yeah.
Because then we begin to unlock, but is that really true? And so I'll tell you this. So my story, overachiever, raised by a single mother, God bless her, unfortunately though, poor, not a lot of food, we're homeless at times. My father, unfortunately, has battled drug and alcohol addiction most of my life. And so I grew up as a kid who had to mature very fast. I had to learn how to take care of myself. And this idea of having a soft space to land, like kind of knowing that no matter what, I'd be taken care of. I just didn't have that. my mom tried her best, bless her heart, but I could not trust she'd be home. Like I always had to figure out, how am I gonna survive if something changes? We moved 8 times in an 18-month period.
Wow.
I mean, that just shows you the level of sort of instability that I had. And it bred in me 2 things. A, I'll never want to go back to that. And so that's the story. I was like, what do I got to do to make sure I never feel that way? And then secondarily, I was already a hard worker. And my sort of equation was, and I say this a lot because, I love Boomerang. And when I saw, Robin Gibb Joe, Jacqueline was like my girl, in the banging suits. I thought, oh, wait, she has the life that, okay, how do I work for that? Yeah. And so my equation began: work hard, achieve. I never have to go back to that. Now, to a certain degree, that's okay.
Yeah.
But when you start doing it over and over and over again, and what ultimately happened is my body, my health started to deteriorate. And Sybil kind of knows this, I have an autoimmune condition and I have been managing it, for a long time. But in the last several years, it was very clear that I needed to stop. I was getting ulcers that are very, very painful. I was in and out of the hospital, and it was all a function of stress, not resting. And my doctors were telling me to rest. People like Sybil, they did an intervention, y'all, trying to tell me to rest. My partner, my
you
husband.
acted like you were a part of it, but you were like, you think you, yes.
I didn't care, y'all. No. I'm running. Like, no, I see Jacqueline. Like, that's what I'm aiming for. And to be frank, I was in the hospital for the 10th time. And I can't even tell you how much pain. I'm talking about days in bed, cannot walk, inflammation. Crawling to the bathroom. My husband had to carry me. This is literally the level of intense health deterioration I'm facing. And yet I'm still working deck. I'm still putting decks together. I'm still going to be on that call. I'm still going to be, that was literally how it was, and it's crazy because she was there. You wouldn't get me emotional.
I'm so proud of you. Like, okay.
And my rock bottom, honestly, and this is when I finally had to ask myself that question. Sybil came to see me, but it was actually another friend, my friend Ida Rodriguez, I'm going to shout out right now, who came in. Because Sybil was kind of nice. Like, Ida brought the child, please.
Well, because Kibi I had already pushed away many attempts for us to go hard. I was like, all right, let me just be loved.
Yeah.
Just
and she was, but I needed to I need to knock you upside your head. And so my friend Ida came in and she literally was like, Kibi, you are one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. Like you've built businesses, like produced movies, like you've won. I don't understand why you cannot take all that brilliance and heal yourself.
Jeez.
Even thinking about it, I remember because she laughed, y'all, and I just was looking at myself in a gown, all these tubes, like I'm in awfulness. And I'm just like, what? Why? And I just started bawling. I literally just started bawling. And I think it was the first time I finally was able to sit down and ask myself, Kibi, why are you so afraid? Why are you so afraid? Why won't you stop? And as I began to examine that, I began to realize it was that little girl that I hadn't attended to. And for some reason, I still kept thinking I was that 8-year-old, 9-year-old girl who didn't have the resources, who hadn't fully accepted, Kibi, it's okay. Like, it's okay. Like, you were going to be okay.
Barely here right now. I'm over here in a whole,
and so, but that was so day one. Now, mind you, I still regress. So don't get it twisted.
But even still, you have to come to a space because you have to embrace healing and to embrace the idea that you deserve rest. You have to think you're worthy of it. And you have to believe that you're greater than poverty, that you're greater than this history, that you're that you don't have to earn everything.
Preach.
Like some things are a birthright, right?
And that is the truth.
Right? But when you come from a place where you had to earn, everything's merit-based. You have to earn, perform, show up. If you can't do the hours for it, you don't get it. Then receiving like a birthright, accepting and walking in a birthright, it feels very hard.
Absolutely. And we as women, and especially women of color, I'm a Black woman proudly, we struggle with work. We do, because our entire society is telling us that unless we output, we overperform, we deliver, then we don't matter. And that is not true. And so getting to the root of what is driving that belief about yourself is the first step.
Absolutely.
And, like I said, it was a journey. I started, kind of regressed, but that was also the time when I said, let me stop. That's when I said, let me pause, because honestly, I didn't have a choice, quite frankly. And so I hate to acknowledge that. But that pause and that impact of that bottom experience finally at least gave me the ability to just stop.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like, y'all don't understand the power that comes out of those pauses.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the part of this
Oh
that
my
I think if
gosh.
we can get to the other side. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, I was blessed. Now everybody has this. As I'm saying, do it at whatever pace you can. I was blessed to be able to kind of take 6 months, and just literally be still. And when I tell you the work that I did, pausing, it was about accessing that joy.
Yeah.
And I just, like I said, I couldn't really ride bikes, unfortunately, but like I would go on boats and just sit down. I love to read. I would go on walks as I could. I mean, I have a sunroom that I completely set up, and I would just sit out there and just begin to reconnect with those things that I did as a little girl. And slowly and surely, I began to heal, y'all. Now, mind you, I mean, just the magnitude. I mean, at one point, I had like 10 open ulcers on my body. And I don't know if y'all know, I mean, I get ulcers on my legs, and ulcers are not anything anybody wants. Let me just say, they're the most painful thing. When you get them, it feels like you have a blowtorch going up and down your leg when they're forming. And at my height, I had 45 all in.
Wow.
Like over the course of me not resting, I had 45. Yeah. So in that pause, I had probably 4 or 5 open at that time. They have finally healed. Wow. I was able to do the work, to get the doctors, to get the medicine, to do all the things that I was kind of half hobbling through just because I fully invested.
Yeah.
And Sybil says this now, I'm out here thriving. The number of people who have said, girl, you look good, and your skin is banging, and blah, 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 and that is honestly the most amazing news, because I know from whence I've come. And it all came out of the pause. I launched 2 businesses. I came out that pause. I made more money in my life than I had ever made. And it was because I had the time to think. I had the time to strategize. To your point, I had the time to get in realignment with, like, what am I here for?
Yeah.
Like, what's driving me? Is it an external thing, or is it a God-given like desire? And that's where my coaching, I began to do more of that. And Sybil doesn't know this, actually. One of the things that I kind of did in the early stages of my pause was her ready, set, go thing, which I loved. I connected with so many women. But again, it was about re-engaging with just women just for the sake of being around them. Not about building nothing. Scared. Just let me just be in your presence. Let me just connect.
That's the thing. I think most humans are probably looking at more, and when they look at their life, they're looking at the quantity of days versus the quality of experiences that make up these really beautiful moments. That is work inclusive. Yeah. Whatever the things are that are assigned to us, there can still be quality in those experiences that make it meaningful.
Absolutely.
Because I don't know that those 6 months, if you had not taken them, you were going to have to take them somewhere. Let me just say it like that.
And it would have been probably in the ground. I mean, and I'm not being like overly dramatic here.
Yeah.
Like, I was on the verge. So again, I don't want y'all to get that far, which is why I'm here. But go ahead.
No, because when I think about it, I'm like, what good is the quality of that time if you cannot be who you are, if you can't show up fully, if you can't have the full expression of your value on display in life, if your skin's not popping the way you want it to be, if you can't get on the boat, if you can't work with passion, whatever the job, whatever, like, we're able to have this conversation with passion because we both want to be in this very moment.
We do. And
we are able to have a quality experience because we, like you said, are not looking for balance. We are harmonizing all the important things of our life, and that allows time for the things that matter. This is a pause in a very busy day for me.
Oh, completely.
And it's podcasting, and I love it. But it's a pause because it adds so much value to the remaining hours of my day. It's a refuel. And I think my hope, great girlfriends, is that you can honor when life is asking that of you. Because I do feel that we get these invitations. I feel like we have this unction. I think we start thinking like, am I doing too much overtime? Am I overtaxed?
That's God talking to you.
Your heart starts going, yes, yes, yes. And then you start suppressing it because you're like, no, but I don't have time. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for this. And the thing, and it's all happening. Those are invitations to reassess the quality of the experiences you're having. Yes. How much more valuable. And I realized, for a person like me who loves being around people, like, I'm fully hydrated, and then I run home because I'm done. I'm like, no more people, none. Yes. But when I'm in that mix, imagine the suffocation I was in during the pandemic. I was suffocating. And when I started to assess what what took my grief process, the healing of my grief process so long in 2021, it was my disconnection from the things that resuscitate and that invigorate me.
Yeah. Which is your
I
rest.
wasn't, this community is my rest. And so 2022, excuse me, I feel like it accelerated, but I also spent a lot more time with people I love. I literally baked that into like, all right, I have to make this time happen because this actually feeds me. It's vitamins. It's not.
No.
And so I think about that often, and I hope that any great girlfriend who's listening can really start reimagining what that looks like.
So, great girlfriends, if you're like me, you're constantly looking for the absolute best talent to keep your business strong. And we all know that it is so complicated at times to really, really get the right people on board, to get the quality people you're looking for with the right business aesthetic and all the things that really make your company meaningful to build an infrastructure. But I'm so happy that I tried out LinkedIn Jobs, and I think you should too. This is the place that I go to help find the right people for my team faster and for free. I put up a couple of posts just to kind of grab some freelancers, perhaps some long term assistants for my company, and I was able to find people that actually fit the mold. Not only have I found people that fit the mold, I found people that really are passionate about the work they do, which is so important. It's so easy. It's absolutely so easy to create a free job post on LinkedIn Jobs. Here's how it works. You figure out who you want to hire, then you go on the LinkedIn Jobs. You add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile, and that helps spread the word that you're hiring. Then you've got simple tools like screening questions that makes it easy to focus on candidates that have the skills and experience so you can make your decisions a lot faster and interview the people you actually want to talk to. If you're trying to finish out your year strong and kickstart your 2023, this is the way to do it with the right team members by your side, supporting your business goals and helping you to sustain your mission. This is why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/greatgirlfriends. That's linkedin.com/greatgirlfriends to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
I love how you talk about the pauses doing anything that brings you joy.
Anything.
My mother loves to iron clothes, right? Like it's the strangest. She loves to me, it's strange because I hate doing it. But she loves to wash. She will wash everybody's, like that's a joy thing
for her.
Separating them, washing them, the whole process. I never learned how to wash clothes.
Because she did it.
She did it my whole life. I got to college and I was like, all the girls know how to wash. I never got, Mom, what are you?
Funny.
And then I found like a laundry service. But to this day, when we go back to her house, she washes everyone. That brings her joy. And I would say, Mom, stop. You don't have to wash our clothes. She was like, I love this.
I like it.
I had to realize, okay, what brings one person joy doesn't bring another.
And that's what you got to own that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, and you bring up a couple of really good points with that, Sybil. One of the things I also like to communicate in this idea is, resting is a love language. And I feel like sometimes we get caught up in this idea of like self-care. I got to practice self-care. And to you, like your mom ironing didn't feel like self-care, right?
At all.
Which to me is another kind of thing we need to really examine, because honestly, self-care is me care. And I think inherent in that is again this idea of selfishness. Is again this idea of like I'm not thinking about other people, and we have to release that. So my advocacy is shifting from a mindset of self-care or me care to we care, and understanding that your act of rest is a love language to your community. So your mom folding those clothes was her love language to you all. Me taking that 6 months was my love language to all my clients that I work with, was a love language to all my friends who I really want to be there for. But I was showing up half-assed just to be free because I was sick, And so really understanding that, hey, the point of rest is so you can, as you said, show up as your best self. And tell me, who wants to deal with somebody who's cranky, sleepy, ain't got no energy? Like, who wants that? Like, just ask yourself that. Like, would you want to be around that? Take your ass and go get some sleep. Excuse my language. Like, that's kind of what I feel. Absolutely. The other thing is this idea of how do you begin to reframe your mind? Again, it's not always about what you think is rest, but also what other people think is rest. And it may not be the same. And along with that is, how do you begin to just reframe this idea of rest from a more abundant mindset.
Yeah.
So instead of asking yourself, damn, what's going to happen?
Mhm.
Damn, what's going to happen if I don't show up at that event? Oh, damn,
Mhm.
what's going to happen if I don't get that deck in by Monday, even though really, you got till Friday?
Right.
And instead start asking yourself, what can go right?
Mhm.
Like,
Mhm.
what can go right if I just take an hour?
Yeah.
What can go
Yeah.
right if I just give myself a day?
Yeah.
Do something that's going to really be that refueling, that re-energizing, that rest focused, rest centered, rest first centered activity, which is what I advocate. I want a rest first center mindset. What can go right? And if you just even start from that premise,
That's so
it just
good.
allows you to just open yourself up to the possibilities. Because here's the thing. I mean, we're going to talk about two things. Hey, there is a community out there who actually wants to help you.
Right.
And you not
facts.
resting is actually being a little disrespectful, if I can say, because you basically
Yes.
telling them, I don't need your help.
That's right.
And we do that a lot. I mean, I'm a
Yeah.
control freak, y'all. I am self-proclaimed. I understand that. So I am talking to myself. There are people, you're gonna make me cry again. When I was sick, Sybil, and unbeknownst to me, went to 10 of my closest girlfriends. And when I tell you, she showed up at my house, y'all, with flowers, with gift cards, just Whole Foods, Trader, we really need it. I just broke down in tears, and I was like, God, you're right. Why was I blocking this? Because they wanted to help me, but I'm standing. No. And that, I mean, I'm sure there are many examples if y'all just sit and listen and reflect and ask yourself, you know what? Why am I denying this gift of community outpour? And I'm gonna take it to the next level. God is in the miracle business. Absolutely. I believe in God. And so you, in my opinion, if you don't give yourself time to rest, you are blocking the miracles that can come if you so you do your part, you do your work. I'm not telling you not to work, and then you stop. You rest and you let the universe, if you are a believer, I'm a believer, God, just that power greater than you to do what it needs to do. Because how many times have y'all literally stressed yourself so much over something like, can't sleep, not eating, and then all of a sudden you have a conversation with somebody randomly, and like that, it's fixed.
And you're like, oh my gosh.
Why did I stress?
Waiting in a conversation. It was waiting in this trust moment where I decided to give it over, release.
Yeah, that's why I say rest is an act of trust.
Yeah,
that's it.
I think about it all the time when you start talking about what if I miss this event and all this stuff. So people, are really struggling with extreme FOMO.
Yes.
And especially when you go on social media, you want to live in everyone else's moments. You're like, I want to be on that stage doing that thing. I want to be a part of this experience, right? And so people have this FOMO because they feel like they're missing out on something that could be theirs. Yes. It's covetous.
Yes,
but
it is. Yeah.
I feel like there, social media or the quest for success can oftentimes make you feel like you're missing out on something that belongs to you, when in actuality, being present in your own moment is what will bring you to those really large experiences, right?
That's
that you desire.
Yeah.
And I know, do what you got to do if you have to take the apps off, if you need to adjust your notifications, if you need to unfollow certain people, if you need to, not the great girlfriends, not Kibi Anderson.
At all. Yes.
Just be clear, not Sybil Moody. Okay.
Those three. Yes.
Anybody else that you want to unfollow?
Yes.
But do what is necessary to create safe spaces, because you can. I realize on social media, I was so inspired by a woman. I was like, I want to shop her certain things in her wardrobe. And I was like, wait a minute, am I trying to be like her? Am I trying to incorporate some really cool things, or am I trying to be like her? I had to actually do the assessment to go, wait, I might be trying to be like her. So let me unfollow for a season and see, do I miss her inspiring content, or am I chasing her?
And that's that pause, though. That's that pause.
And you have to have those moments where you great girlfriends, be wise enough to do the self-assessment.
Yes.
Because that is what gives you the space to make these next choices, because no one could choose for you, people.
Absolutely. And not only that, to make the best choice for you.
Right.
Because I think you're right. We get caught up in this comparison game. We get caught up in trying to, do what the other person is doing. And inherently, there's no success in that.
Nothing.
You will never be amazing at being somebody else.
No.
I mean, just let it go. Like, if you believe that, we got bigger problems, and call me and we can do some coaching together.
Right.
But no, like, you are inherently equipped to be the most amazing version of yourself. And so how do you create an environment for you to get what you need? You know what I mean? And it's important to be able to, as I always say, set those boundaries. this rest is a lifestyle. Like
Yeah.
it is discipline. And one of the first things that is necessary for you to be able to operate from a rest first centered mindset is a set boundaries. I mean, you cannot be everywhere. Ladies, no is a full sentence.
Absolutely.
Like I'm gonna say it again. No is a full
That's
sentence.
it.
Say it again.
No.
No is a full sentence. Like
You don't even
full
have to
stop.
explain it. I used to go, no, because
Nope.
blah, blah, blah.
Nope.
No. Anything
And
else?
I'll see you later. And here's the thing. Trust that when it's time, it'll come back around.
That's right.
That's the thing you have to begin to do. Again, that it's this trust. Rest is an act of trust. So what is it that you're afraid of? We always go back to this question. What is it you're afraid of? And in Sybil's mind, is she afraid that if she doesn't have the girls' clothes, they're not going to hire her? They're not going to want to. How many people have hired you? What the clothes you got now? I
had
mean,
no idea what I was gonna wear, but wanted to. Yeah, absolutely.
just wanted to.
And you create these stories in your mind that it's interesting. This is probably slightly off topic, but on topic. But it's interesting that when you have lacked certain things ever, whatever those things are, you tend to think you need more in that category than you truly actually need. If you lacked money growing up, you think you can never have enough. If you lacked a certain wardrobe, you think you need more, or you need the highest best. If you lack a good hairstyle, whatever, or education, you tend to oversaturate in those areas, only to find out you were enough at the beginning and all of the other things are really just extra.
Yeah.
And but you tend to do that. And
or the flip side is you get all of that stuff and you still feel empty.
Absolutely. You're like, then what?
You get
And
all of
that- and
it
it worked.
and you're like, ooh, damn, I don't feel better.
Because it looked like it was doing more than it was doing.
Exactly.
When I tell you, old girl was looking so fierce in her outfit, I was like, oh, she's knocking them out today. And she probably was hungry. I don't know what her story is. And it's not
You
even
don't
my
know
business to know. But that's just it. I don't know. And we assume certain things and then we take it and run with it to make it true to us. And it doesn't do the work.
It doesn't match. It doesn't match.
I love that. Okay, so Kibi, what are 3 things that you tell yourself to give yourself permission to take the pause?
Well, honestly, every day I have to affirm what I'm telling you now. There is power in this pause.
Yeah.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. I mean, this is what I know will be a lifelong journey. It's a lifelong journey. I'm getting better. Like when those fears pop in, I'm moving through them faster. So I just want to say that to you all. Give yourself some grace. I mean, this takes time. We have been conditioned by society to do the opposite. Right. To think about the worst case scenario. Yeah. So it's about building that positive intelligence muscle. And so every day, I literally declare there's power in the pause. I mean, I have to say that. I think the other thing is second, number 2, I'm always thinking about it as a discipline. I plan this stuff out, y'all. Listen, you cannot be one of those people that's like, I took a 2-month sabbatical and I'm never doing it again. No. Yeah. Or I took a day and no, this has to be incorporated into your life. So like once a month, my husband and I, we do what we call DB dates and we spend 24 hours off site. We go to a hotel downtown LA, it's not necessarily far, but it is literally no phones, no kids. Like we are just connecting because that is part of our rest. Yeah. Every quarter, I try and do something similar. I mean, I do, whether connecting with girlfriends, because for me, that's fun. Going to the beach. I had planned those things out, every summer, we take time out to get away from the work, to unplug. And it's interesting, even in my company, I have begun to map out like a strategy to actually be able to have the entire team just shut down, like the whole company shut down. And I've seen other companies out there do that. Like they literally, these are multi-million-dollar companies, but they are communicating to their customers, yo, we're going to be out for a week. So get what you need, ask your questions. Here's the one little person who's going to be available. But, and I just love that being modeled. So those are the kinds of things about making it a lifestyle, that second thing. And then the third thing is just doing it. Just doing it. I mean, it's easy to say I can do all this planning, but to do it, and honestly, every single time I do it, I am more and more involved.
So you tell yourself,
I'm more and more involved. Just do it. Just sit here.
Yeah.
Just sit. Go take that walk. For me, honestly, I found more recently because I've been doing more content. Content actually gives me joy. Like it's the meditation of it, and just kind of like editing and stuff. My hubby is an editor, so I kind of understand why he can do it for so long. And so I've begun to realize, okay, let me just once a week for now. Just take time, make a few reels here and there. I'm trying to get my brand and my company out there more. And I've been doing it. And
Mhm.
listen, before this, y'all, I would have been, I ain't got time for that. I ain't got time for that. But it's helping my company, but it's
Yeah.
also giving me joy. Like I'm
Yeah.
unlocking new things.
Yeah.
So those 3 things, y'all, literally declaring whatever you want to say, power in the pause, rest is an act of trust. I've said a lot of stuff. So choose your 3 words
Yeah.
that you want to use. Secondarily, it's a lifestyle. It's a
Yeah.
discipline. You have to begin to incorporate it. And I get it. Some of you guys are burdened with a lot on your plate. So start with an hour.
And start
Just
asking for help.
start asking for help.
Get
Yeah,
that
then
community
get up
involved.
to another day. Yeah, like there are people out there. If you say, "Yo, can you watch my kids right now?"
Yeah.
Or can you just for an hour? You
Yeah.
know, I can do it. And then, like I said, the last thing is to just do it. You just have to do it.
Mhm.
And when you do it, like I said, when you do it,
Yeah.
like the things y'all gonna birth, the
Yeah,
problem solving that's
exciting.
gonna result, the exponential, light year speed with which you're gonna progress towards your goals. I have proved, y'all, like I am living proof of that. But on top of it, I talk to clients, I deal with this with friends all the time. And the ones who listen, they're like, girl,
I know.
why it take so long?
Yes. And you start to thirst for more. You start
You
going
want it.
across categories in your life. Like, where else do I really want to have this immense amount of sustainable joy?
Absolutely.
Like, I want to experience more and more of this.
Yes.
Yeah. And you ultimately, I love that because you start to protect your standards in a different way. That note honestly becomes easier
So easy.
because you start to recognize really quickly. And up front, you can see the indicators. That's going to that's going to be toilsome. Those people don't really make me feel rested. I feel like I'm laboring when I'm with them. Or this community, I feel like I have to show up a certain way.
Yeah.
And you pause it all.
You do, definitely. And the other thing is, the thing that most people fear by saying no is that the rejection is going to cause the other person to be upset with them.
Yeah.
And the reality is that rarely
That's not the
happens.
case. Yeah.
You realize, oh damn, I was worried about this. And they were like, okay, cool. I'll hit you later.
Like you weren't gonna miss me.
No, yeah. And again, how much are we overthinking of our importance?
God. Yes.
And I'm not trying to hit anybody in the ego, but you got to ask yourself, like, you important, but you ain't that important.
Yeah.
And everything.
Then everyone's life is disrupted
if you don't show up.
No on them.
Yeah, maybe your kids, your husband, outside your immediate family, but outside of that, you got to really start asking yourself.
Yeah. Somebody with that hero cape is going, but wait, I got it tied on tight today. I'm the hero.
It's okay to lay it down. It's okay, y'all.
Untie it.
Put it on the hook over there.
Toss it. Yeah.
It's gonna be there waiting.
Absolutely. Plenty more opportunities to say yes, but this one right here is enough.
Is enough.
Yeah.
Is
I
enough.
love that. Okay, Kibi, because I know you are starting coaching in this area and you really want to make sure you're touching as many women as possible.
Yes.
And I feel like it's time for us to really start to dive into this because lots of people are starting to see their vision board in their head.
Yes.
And they're, hitting their charts with their milestones, outcomes they want to have in 2023.
Yes.
So before we overbook ourselves and overcommit, where can they keep in touch with you and learn more about your programs?
Yes, no, definitely. So obviously you guys can see my handle. You can always check me on Instagram at Kibi Anderson. My website for my coaching company is called lifeeditor.co. There is no M. So lifeeditor.co. You can hit me there. I am actually in the process of launching a group coaching cohort that's going to happen in the fall. And then I will do another one top of the year, as Sybil said. Anybody who ain't thinking about how to get ready for 2023 right now, come on, y'all. So I'm absolutely, going to be have that offering coming out. And it is specifically focused on helping people who are struggling with resting.
Yeah.
And, and just because that's it. Like, how do you move into 2023 with the tools, with the beginnings of being able to build that muscle, and then with the accountability? Because that's the key thing. You need that accountability, y'all. It's hard. I'm not going to front. It's not easy. So tapping into these kinds of group coaching offerings like I have, or even I'm sure Sybil's going to have some stuff coming out as well. Invest in yourself. Like, figure out how to do this, because I promise you, your quality of life and your ability to really actualize everything you want, like I said, is only going to be exponentially amplified if you implement and practice these core principles. And I'm trying to prevent anybody from having the reckoning that I had.
Oh,
I'm grateful for people like Sybil, y'all. I'm serious. I'm grateful for the lessons, the teachings, the tools. It's funny, my phone keeps going off because that's actually my time to rest. I literally have alarms. So I'm not playing with this.
Yeah.
I'm not playing with this because I know my purpose is so much bigger than any health issue. And that is the covenant that I had to really reconnect with
Mhm.
God in my case, but just with kind of just this idea of like, my worth is not connected to anything else externally.
Birthright.
It's birthright.
We're born worthy.
Yes.
Born worthy. I love you so much. You know, we could do
I
this
love
all
you
day, but
too.
she's got to rest,
I
great
know.
girlfriend. Her little buzzer went off. She has to rest. So she's probably going to put me out. I got to go back kids. I love you so much. I'm so glad I can have you on today. Great girlfriends. Mwah! Make sure you are following Kibi. Make sure you're also checking out this episode and sharing it with all the great girlfriends in your circle who need to take that pause and who could really benefit from the pause. And jump in the Facebook community at the Great Girlfriends on Facebook.com. Get in that community and have conversations about it, because we are going to kick off our New Year's challenges that are coming up. And I think we need to include this very big component about rest and pausing. So
yes,
thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, girl. Seriously.
I'm
And I
so
got a
proud of
double
you.
dose, y'all. So
Double
I am
dose, double
excited.
dose. And if you didn't catch this episode, go back and listen to part 1. If you missed part 1, go back and listen to last week's episode. Love you, great girlfriends. Peace.
Peace.
All right, great girlfriends, did you enjoy this week's episode of the podcast? If so, would you please give us your amazing review on iTunes? Every single review helps another great girlfriend get plugged into the podcast and the community. Speaking of community, make sure you join our Facebook group at The Great Girlfriends, follow us on Instagram at The Great Girlfriends, and on Twitter at _great GFS. I'm Sibylla Muti, and I'm out. Peace.